Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. We are your Omniverse Comics Guide guys. I am Eric Anthony, one of your co-hosts, and somewhere in the background is, I think he's been a bad boy.
I'm doing the show from here tonight, dude.
That's my pal Dave Molyneux. How you doing, pal? Why are you in the corner? You a bad boy today?
I've been naughty, so I thought I'd give you some distance. Apparently I'm a bad influence on you.
You know what? It's okay. The influence has already been done. The damage is done.
Really?
There's no coming back. Yeah. You could come
Okay.
closer. You could come closer. Don't worry. You've introduced me to Omega Bread, the type of things he's put into my head during our podcasts. Unspeakable things that you can never forget, right? So here we are.
This is true.
Dave, how you doing, pal?
I'm mighty fine, thanks, sir. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know what? I'm showcasing my new glasses this week that I just got, and I can finally see clearly again, because the glasses I've had before were just like a fog. So it's quite nice to be able to see you pretty on the screen tonight, Dave.
Oh shucks, you big liar.
This isn't a dating podcast. This is a comic book podcast. So thank you to everybody that's hanging out with us on Twitch and watching us on YouTube, listening to us on your different podcast platforms. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. It always helps get the word out. More people can watch, and it helps us make a better show. But most importantly, visit us at omniversecomics.guide.
What's there?
What's there? Let me tell you what's there. You got all our podcast episodes, interviews, collector item specials. I always see CIS. I got it. The anagram in my head. That's not what it means. What else do we have there? We've got our reading orders, which I always say are second to none.
Yes, thank you.
They are excellent, and I actually have used them myself in preparation for some of my interviews or episodes. So if you want to find a reading order for an event that you want to know what not to miss or what is maybe skippable, but you want to know the order of things, no better place to look than omniversecomics.guide. Check us out, and we really appreciate the support. Now, Dave, is there anything in the mailbox this week?
There isn't anything in the mailbox. However, as an extension of last week, when I opened up these babies, and they were looking pretty fine. They're from Gungnir Books, and it says Tales from the Allfathers. And I thought it was like, oh, this is cool. We got two copies. Here. That's nice. I managed to open them up after the show. I'll do. Ooh, here we go.
Ooh.
It's a copy of Mutant Cats, which is a nice little bit of indie comics action.
I like that.
Can't go wrong there.
For collectors like us, we love the way things are packaged and presented. That's part of the charm of collecting, right? How is the actual, like, what's the product, the book, or the art?
The book looks lovely. I haven't read it yet, so I'm going to read them, and I'll do some video reviews this year, because I wanted to go back to doing a few quick hit video reviews on things. But the art is cool. I'm really liking it, and it's got my whole dark, messed up, but anthropomorphic animals feel going on. So, can't go wrong. And in this one, we've got Chupacabra.
That looks cool.
Which has a whole different vibe to it. Looks a little anime-esque, manga-esque.
Yeah.
But, yes, it's just some nice indie stuff.
That's the beautiful product, though.
Isn't it?
That's really nice. Yeah, very nice.
Nice spot lamb on that as well. Ooh, a little
Yeah.
spot lamb, and I like a bit of that, one shiny bit in the middle. I'm sold, mate.
Yeah, thank you for for sending that to us. We appreciate it. That's great.
Thank you so much. They are really, really lovely books. So, yeah, I'll be doing some reviews very, very shortly, giving them a proper bit of spotlight.
Beautiful. I like it. Incoming, February 2025. Incoming! You got a bunch of things incoming yourself?
Yeah.
You're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to something coming in. Can't wait. I love a bit of that action. Have you?
There are definitely things that we've discussed on previous shows that their releases are finally, rounding that corner. So I've got my eye on stuff that I don't know if I'm going to buy them next month, but they're definitely on my to-buy list for sure.
Do you want to crack one off first, or shall I?
All right. I'm going to steal one from you probably.
Do it.
Right off the hop. Pardon me. But it's because of your recommendation of it during our Brubaker episode, and that's Killer Be Killed.
Yes, I'm glad you chose it.
The compendium is coming out February 25th. I've had my eye actually on a few image compendiums the last little bit because I really enjoyed reading Deadly Class, in its in completed form. So it's got me more interested in like, okay, you got Fatal, you got Kill or Be Killed, Revival. It's never dropped in price. I don't want to pay full pop for any of these things because, I'd rather buy two books instead of one book. But
Fair.
all of these books I've got my eye on them. So
So you've
Kill or
not
Be
picked
Killed,
up Revival yet?
haven't picked it up. I'm just waiting for just some
You'll
sort
get
of a
there.
quick,
You'll get there.
yeah, a quick day sale, something like that.
Yeah.
But definitely on the list. And of course, because of your good reviews of these books, you're not overly critical about things, but when you really, really like something and give it a 5 star, it's rare. So those
Yeah.
5 stars, I always like, okay, these count to me, which I appreciate the rarity of when you give out a really high rating. So this is Kill or Be Killed. You said, I think you gave it 5 or
I
a
did.
couple of,
Yeah, in total, yeah.
yeah. So definitely on the list. Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and it's adult content. Just so
Yeah.
so any kids watching this isn't for the kids, it's for adults. But
Judge the title correctly. If it's got
ex-
kill in it, it's probably not going to be for your kids.
exactly. So you can't go wrong. Like if you want to know more about some of the ins and outs of Kill or Be Killed, listen to the Ed Brubaker podcast.
Yeah.
There's a top 10 on him, but Dave goes into a little more detail, no spoilers, but it definitely sold me on this book. For
Cool.
sure.
It's worthy. Yeah. It's a worthy pick, and it's a really good. To see it in February, I would argue that it's probably the book to pick up in February.
It's at the top of my list.
Yeah.
Wow. Easy first pickings.
Wasn't it? God, that was. Yes. You were so smooth.
Low hanging fruit.
I didn't know if you had smooth low hanging fruit, but my first choice for tonight is, thanks for the share, is Daredevil Born Again, the Marvel Premiere Collection. So the Marvel Premiere Collection is the smaller size books. They're kind of like your novel size books. So they're probably Marvel and DC trying to hop onto the manga size market, thinking that might be it might well, that sounded really cynical, thinking that's the answer, it's the size of the book. It might well be the answer, and it'll be interesting to see how these sell, but they're going for a lot of their classic big well-known stories and releasing them in this size. And I'm really, really glad to see Daredevil Born Again specifically being one of the first ones that they're collecting. It's not just my favorite Daredevil story, it's one of my favorite stories in comics of all time.
Yeah, deservedly so.
It's aged well, really well. I know there's like some controversy around Frank Miller these days. I don't even 100% know what the controversy is. There's this whole thing about not liking things because somebody wrote it. I'm going to have to burn all my Sandman comics now. But other people also worked on those books. So, and if something's good, it's good. You don't blame the book. Blame the knobhead who wrote them. But Born Again is a real turning point in Daredevil, and it's so weird to think that severe, sharp turn came with a brief comeback, because Frank Miller was on the title years earlier. I can't remember when he actually came away from Daredevil. It was like 82, 83, and he'd been away for about 3-4 years, I think, and came back, and he did this story that just knocked everyone for six. So this is around the time that you've got books like Watchmen and Mouse and Squadron Supreme and all these things that are now considered real turning points in comics history. Born Again is easily up there. I think it gets forgotten because I think people veer more towards Dark Knight Returns. This kicks the shit out of the Dark Knight Returns. It takes it outside into an alley and it punches it repeatedly in the face until the knuckles are touching the back of the skull. That's how much better it is. Clip this.
Clip this. That's perfect. I mean, I hear you. I don't necessarily share the opinion, but it definitely would be in that fight in the alleyway with Dark Knight Returns. For me, it's a worthy book in that pantheon of the books you've mentioned that were coming out during that time that were changing the way you could tell story, the chances that they were taking, kind of doing stuff that was for a more mature audience, a little bit more sophisticated. I mean, there's parts of Born Again that are of its time as far as like it wraps up real quick and like him and
It is fast, yeah.
there,
To be
there's a
fair.
certain there's a certain pace at the end that
Yeah.
but that's the comic books of it.
Well, it's a superhero comic, but it doesn't feel like a superhero comic for
No,
75-80% of the story. He's
no,
not even in
exactly.
costume or anything, and it's like, what they did to there are some people still out there who can't forgive what he did to Karen Page just to make the story happen. But is it a great story? Like, is the kind of thing that really set the tone, more so than his
Oh yeah.
original run for all its length and all its varied amazingness, and Elektra and Bullseye being what Bullseye became in that, instead of a dude firing Daredevil out of a giant crossbow and silly stuff like that, which is fun in its own way. But he turned Bullseye into a threat. The Kingpin Daredevil feud really began in his original run. There's so many great stories, but nothing comes close to Born Again. Nothing comes close. So it's the very small sized Marvel Premier Collection version of Daredevil Born Again. There's a lot of scrolling happening here. Bear with me, 280 pages, paperback, and it's a thing of absolute beauty. A lot of people don't realize there's technically a crossover issue that's in
Mm,
Amazing Spider-Man. I will be including it when I do the Born Again reading order, but if you haven't read Born Again, don't read the reading order. Just go read Born Again. It's great. It's so good.
yeah, it's deserving of the hype. Mazzucchelli, Miller. Mazzucchelli doesn't have a huge catalog of comics as far as I know, but what he did, the impact he had, and
Yeah.
the way people have tried to tap into that sense of storytelling, pacing, check it out. See what the fuss is about. And for me, it's kind of like not saying it's comparable, if you want to say it
To
is,
Wonder
but
Boy.
to when you read Craven's Last Hunt. As you get older and you read it and you understand a little bit more of psyche and
Yeah.
dark places of the mind, you read
Yeah.
that and you're like, holy shit, this is wild,
That's it. In the
right?
context of these stories, for
Yeah,
on the newsstand, for
yeah,
potentially little kids picking them up, it makes you wonder in hindsight, how did any of this get approved?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, for real.
What have you
Okay,
got for your number 2 drop off, dude?
number two, I'm going to go pretty obvious. Geiger, Volume 2 is coming out. Jeff Johns, Gary Frank. So you had the first part of Geiger was a 6-issue miniseries that is kind of an introduction to the character and this universe, the unknown universe that they're all kind of connected to. This now is the beginning of like the ongoing series. So yeah, this is their continued story. I enjoyed it quite a bit of the Ghost Machine stuff that had come out in 2024. I was trying to decide like which would be my favorite series. My favorite was Redcoat, but this one here, what I like about it is that Jeff, in the characters he's worked with, he's given them somebody to travel with, somebody to tell their story alongside,
Yeah.
which is kind of in that Archer and
Right.
Armstrong kind of vibe that I really enjoy
Hmm.
lately, of that buddy. So in this one, he's done that with Geiger, which is kind of fun because the character in the first volume, I guess this is a spoiler, but he's a loner, right? He's
Yeah.
a guy that is dangerous to be around. That's the premise of the character. Why? Who? How did this guy come to be? So now to have him have a companion, it makes for a different type of story that you can tell while they're, on the road, sort of thing. So check it out. It's a lot of fun. Gary Frank and Jeff Johns, you can't go wrong.
No.
So it's going to be worth the value of your purchase for
Wow.
sure.
I mean, I'm really, really excited to read this. It's 1 to 6, and it includes a story from Geiger 80-page giant, and it's paperback and 176 pages. The
Yeah,
subtitle for it is it's Geiger Volume 2: The Nuclear Night. So if you're unsure,
that's right.
if you search for that full title, you'll find it.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's it's a fun one. It's a great line of comics. We say it every week. The Ghost Machine is a very safe bet if you want to try something off the beaten path of the big two. You're gonna feel something that you recognize, but different and original
Yeah,
with top quality creators.
absolutely. Nice.
Dave,
Yes.
your your
My
next
my
choice.
mouse was being a bellend. So my next choice, my number 2 for tonight is not going to be a shock to anybody who's aware that this is coming out. This is Forever Evil Omnibus. It's coming out on February the 11th. 1,288 pages of pure meat. And it's from DC Comics. It's one of my favorite DC events. Of all the events I've read so far, this one is the one I've read it twice. I think it might have been 3 times. But I've loved it. I loved it. I love seeing the bad guys take center stage. It doesn't do it the way that Marvel did. Dark Reign went on for about a year and a half nearly, and people getting quite upset about seeing it go on that long. The bad guys take center stage, but it's for this story. So you've got a main 8-issue series, and there's a whole bunch of tie-in minis, because that's how we did it in those days. So you've got Justice League tie-ins, Suicide Squad, Justice League Dark, Justice League of America, Trinity of Sin, Phantom Stranger, Constantine, Pandora. Oh, it's Forever Evil was 1-7, my apologies. Arkham War 1-6, Rogues Rebellion 1-6. Rogues Rebellion is a brilliant standalone series on its own, which I mentioned in possibly our Halloween episode. No, it was our top 10 DC New 52, you past self dingus. Argus 1-6, that's not so great. Forever Evil Aftermath, Batman versus Bane. There is a ton of stuff, and it's all very, very villain centric. And these are DC's villains, slightly reimagined for the modern era because it's New 52 era. It's one of the most fun events. Seriously, I love this event so much. And it's Jeff Johns writing the main storyline, but you've got tons of other creators in there with so many different books. And it's great stuff. And it's a key moment in that whole Justice League run of Jeff Johns. So even though I think the miniseries is included in the Justice League by Jeff Johns New 52 Omnibus Volume 2, but this is the book that will flesh out the rest of the story for you if you want to go further into it. And I do recommend that you do, because there's hell of a lot of payoff.
Nice. I haven't read everything else included. I think I might have been reading some of the series that tie into it.
Yeah.
But like you said, the main series, the 1-7, David Finch on the art, there's a lot of highlights in that era. This is definitely one of them.
Easily. The one downside, just in all honesty, the one downside of this collection is it includes the Blight event, which was almost a crossover in itself within Forever Evil, and it's really long, and it's too long, and it's not good. They'd already collected that up in the Justice League Dark New 52 Omnibus. I think they could have just kept that in there. We didn't need to worry too much about it. So that's the only part of this that really didn't gel with me, but the rest of it is good fun. Really good fun.
Nice. Yeah, no, it good pick. I felt it was going to be on your list. I was hoping you'd go for it. It was on mine just in case, but I'm happy that you. Oh. Do we have a reading list for that?
Oh, very good point. Yes, if you do.
You see what I mean?
Oh, you're good, man. You're on it now. See?
Nah, I didn't even know. I just knew that if there's a reading list for it,
it's
so
very precise.
Yeah, to go along with the reading of the omnibus, it'll just enhance. We got it.
That's just it. If you pick up this and you pick up the New 52 DC Villains Omnibus, which you can get lucky and still find it, that tells you where all those one-shots fit in. Some of them don't belong in the crossover and some of them do. So if you jump on there is a breakdown of how the entire thing plays out chronologically as well.
One more to go before commercial break. I am going to go with Modern Day Marvel Epic Collection Young Avengers issues 1-12 from Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung on the art. It's really cool that they put this out there because it's a great series, great run. You can get it in the omnibus version. I don't know if it's still in print or not, version, but it's nice that it's being released in this format as well. And this is a safe bet for dipping into some modern Marvel in the 2000s, because the Epic collections were 90s and into the 60s or into the Silver Age. Like there was supposed to be some limit, but I think the success of the line, they said, why don't we just put some of the classic stuff that came out during this time, that this particular book, I think it's 2005 the series came out.
Yeah.
And it's a really good addition to the shelf if you're a fan of the Avengers or a fan of this era of Marvel. When we talk about this era of Marvel, we're always like giving it all the praise because it's due, right? That Civil War era, the Captain, Ed Brubaker on Cap, and then you got stuff like this that may not be
a lady,
your A-list. Yeah,
but it's all woman. Nothing, forget it.
It may not be the Avengers, like it says, not what you think, but it definitely ties into the universe quite well.
Yeah, well, it's funny because they initially launched it as like a Sidekicks theme the advert for it, if I remember rightly, almost like implied that you were looking at a new sidekick for each of these characters, or teen versions, which they kind of are. And they even kind of introduce the characters that way, but they become very much their own characters after that. And these 12 issues, plus Young Avengers special that takes place in the middle, they set these characters up really, really nicely, and mostly on their own. Like, if you read this run, 1 to 12 and the special, you've got the characters. You know who they are, you know what they're about, and you understand their connection to the Avengers. But it isn't what people thought. People were kicking off when this started, when they announced it. They're like, how come Marvel are officially out of ideas? Why are they doing sidekicks for their characters? They didn't. It was part of the ruse for the marketing, which can, it's a tricky move because it can backfire. But it really proved itself. Jim Chung was the perfect artist for this. And plus, villains-wise, you get one of the best.
Yeah, no, it's a solid story through and through.
Strap on, because it's time to look at what's new to the Omniverse. So, character reading orders, we've got Hulk Family 2005-2007, Spider-Man 2099 reading order from 1992 to 97, events and crossovers. From Marvel, we've got Countdown for Counter-Earth, Kraven's Last Hunt 1987, Spider-Man Classic, Martian Ultimatum has just been added, the build-up to the frankly horrible Ultimatum event, updated on there, World War Hulk and War of Kings. Events from DC, All My Enemies Against Me, the Batman story from 1983, Strangers in Smallville, which is obviously Superman-centric, from 2000, the entire New 52 Futures End reading order, and Lazarus Planet, the 2023 DC extravaganza. From IDW, we've got Devastation from 2007, which is the third part of their Transformers trilogy. Podcast and video. Whew, what haven't we got? The Ghost Machine tapes, the collector's item special with Brian Hitch, of all people. Eric's interview with Bedo, the artist who combines his love of comics and hip-hop. Our top 10 focused on Ed Brubaker's comics. Incoming for January 2025, our Speakeasy episode that focuses on the Superman Legacy trailer. A new manga spotlight shoujo manga episode looking at releases for January to March 2025 with our resident manga expert Raf. And the top 10 collector editions from 2024, part 1. Features, we've got the top 10 manga from 2024, which is the Kono manga Gugoi guide. Raph, I'm so sorry, man. He put such nice work into it, and I'm going, the what? I can't say it.
Dave speaks very well until he has to say a name.
As soon as it's anything in another language, I'm... Also, finally, we have an entry that will take you through to Eric's guest spot on the Comic Shenanigans podcast. Whew.
Wow. Good job. It ain't easy
Really?
being Dave sometimes.
Was it?
All right. Check out that website, omniversecomics.guide. We appreciate your love. Dave?
Oh, hi. Oh, yes, my numero threezo. For number 3 tonight, we're going back to Dark Horse. It felt like 2022 was our year of Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Big style.
It really did.
2025 is looking like the year they're really going to peak. Starting off with a collection written by Tom King, Bill Quisevely on the art. It's Helen of Windhorn, Behave Yourself, Omega Bread. I believe it is a 6-issue miniseries, and it's a very ethereal-looking series. I know nothing about it, but it's by the creative team that brought you Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Despite that, it looks like it might be quite good. I'm going to read out the synopsis, or at least a chunk of it. Following the tragic death of her late father, C.K. Cole, the esteemed pulp writer and creator of the popular warrior character Othan, Helen Cole is called back to her grandfather's enormous and illustrious estate, Windhorn House. Stop it, Omega Bread. Scarred by Cole's untimely passing and lost in a new, strange world, Helen wreaks drunken havoc upon her arrival. However, her chaotic ways begin to soften as she discovers a lifetime of secrets hiding within the myriad rooms and hallways of the expansive manor. For outside its walls, within the woods, dwell the legendary adventurers that were once locked away within her father's stories. Yeah. I'm available if you want me to do more of your synopses, Mr. Tom King. Just give me a shout, yeah?
Nice. What's the release date for that?
The release date for that, very good question, sir. The release date for that is February 2025. Sorry, it's 25th of February 2025. I didn't need to say the year, I was just making sure it was clear. And it's 176 of your Earth pages in a nice standard size hardcover.
Can you say the title one more time for Omega Bread?
Helen of Windhorn. Now,
Nice.
he does say that I think I know her sister, Ellen of Gustycock. And apparently she's a tease.
Oh boy, you guys should start a whole new, different type of podcast. I'll tune in for that one.
Yeah, I think that
But
would be banned quite quickly. And
quite
I
quickly,
don't think it would be down to me.
I don't think so. Nice, very nice. It's always I'm always excited when top tier creators take the creator owned route
Me
and kind of do
too.
the passion project. Not that they can't, you're not doing their passion project when they work for big companies, but now this is their kind of their child.
Yeah,
They've got to
that
put the
full freedom. Let's see what
yeah
they can do.
yeah
Yeah,
exactly.
it's a beautiful looking book as well. The art on it is well, the art was great on Supergirl. I just didn't gel with the story.
Number four. This is a controversial story, but a classic DC pre-crisis era,
Ooh,
and that is the
I'm aroused.
DC Finest, which is their equivalent of the Marvel Epic Collection. So you get an idea of the size of book that you're getting and what it is going to be
Good
collecting.
girth.
Yes. And it's the Teen Titans Judas
Oh,
contract.
nice job.
It's one of those stories in the DC universe that will always be referred to. It has, serious ramification. I guess it was the DC version or equivalent of the Dark Phoenix saga, where something happened to the team that really put them at a breaking point. It's a very different story, but also something that at the time people spoke about, and it had left ramifications on the team. A story of betrayal, a story of friendship. Very there's a whole storyline in there that I don't know how they got away with it, right? It's
No,
the,
it's
the
mystifying that one. We've
yeah,
talked about
that
that
one's
recently as well. I'm just going like, how did they get away with that story? Because it like,
yeah.
ain't
You
right.
know, there's a whole other side to Deathstroke that makes you raise an eyebrow in today's world. I
Yeah.
mean, it would have back then too, but maybe I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to. If you haven't read the story, I don't want to spoil it, but it is a very significant story in all of those characters that are part of the Teen Titans. It's a hallmark moment for Cyborg, for Starfire,
For
Dick
Robin.
Grayson.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dick Grayson. It's a big transition in his life. It's
Yeah.
one of those moments where, oh, that's when that happened to that character.
Yeah.
So
It's a
for
lot,
all
isn't
of
it?
the
For
there's a lot that happens there. Yeah.
I mean,
So,
that's only
and
4 issues of it as well. You know.
exactly. Yeah. So this is a, like you said before, this is a beefy one. It's got 500, almost 600 pages in it. I mean, sometimes compendiums have this many pages. You've got issues. So the New Teen Titans 33 to 40, and then the title changes to the Tales of the Teen Titans.
That's right.
So it's really issues 33 to 47. It's a good chunk of issues with some of the annuals and other tie-ins that are associated with the story. It was one of those series I feel that was worth reading pre-crisis in the sense of the serialization and the soap opera aspect of the characters carried on.
I think that's
This book
fair.
really mattered.
And
So
the creative team,
Marv Wolfman,
another gem
George
of a team.
Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you like the Uncanny X-Men, you're probably going to like this one.
You can see why they mashed those two teams together for a team up book. You know.
Yeah. Check out if you're a fan of team books, 80s comics, and stories that left a mark within that universe. To this day. To this day,
To
it's
this
referenced.
very day. Okay.
Cool. You're number 4.
You want my number 4, don't you? You
I do.
dirty little. Right. So, my number 4 tonight is a shock and a surprise for me, man. I don't know why. I think it's probably because I've been drawn towards characters like Adam Strange and that kind of pulpy sci-fi space age stuff. For some reason, that's starting to really appeal to me at the moment. There's something kind of classic and innocent about it, despite
Right.
the fact that the film of this character was far from innocent. So this is Flash Gordon. It's volume 1, Escape from Planet Death. It's by Mad Cave. It's by Jeremy Adams and a host of other creators. I'm looking. Oh, hang on. Will Conrad is the artist, but Jeremy Adams, who's been writing The Flash, was he writing Green Lantern as well? yeah, he's the writer on this series, so it's a modern take on the classic Flash Gordon. Don't know why I'm suddenly interested in Flash Gordon, but I think those other reasons may be behind it. My God, that film was pervy, wasn't it?
I never seen it.
Oh my God, it's just so riddled with innuendo, and I didn't notice as a kid. When I got older, I just thought, oh my God. And I realized like why I had a thing about Ming the Merciless daughter in that. And I got older and I realized, oh yeah, this explains a hell of a lot in your life. So I might watch that again after the show before I go to bed, you know what I mean? Anyway, this is coming out on
Full of innuendo, just like the comment section.
just
right
like
now.
the comment section. Oh my God, I'm quite glad we're not saving that. I was saying, oh, it'd be nice to run the comments with the show when it no. So February the 11th, it's coming out. It's 160 pages. It's like I say, it's by Mad Cave. I don't know how many issues are included. I think that's probably going to be like your 6 or 7 issues. It's not very clear on this particular site that I'm using, and will never buy books from. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Lex Luthor, in the real world.
Yeah.
What's his name? Oh, Jeffrey Bezos.
I'm gonna save one of my picks for like an alternate at the end.
Okay.
But the one I'll go with now, it's a book one, which I always like being able to refer to a book one. And this is the Justice League International book one reprinting of the J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen, Kevin Maguire series. That was the first official Justice League of the post-crisis DC era, which was a very different kind of looking Justice League, different approach. It didn't have all of your big name, top tier characters. There was a lot of new characters, C-list characters, a couple of A-list, but one or two. It wasn't built around Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman. You didn't even know who it was built around. It was a real smorgasbord, as they say. I don't know if they say that in England.
They do. I'm actually quite pleased that you got that into a sentence. That's quite amused me. Well done.
Well, yeah, it's a smorgasbord. A smorgasbord.
Shut up, Dave. You can say it.
Of these characters that, if you've read it at all, there's a level of humor and zaniness that is different than any other Justice League, but also a certain a soap opera factor. But there are still consequences. Like there are things that matter that they're involved in. It's just a functioning of a team that's not at the space station watchtower.
No,
it's very
it's very
a little
grounded, even though it's got some like space level characters. So you've got, I think initially, like some of the characters you'll see are characters like Dr. Fate. Batman is on the list. Captain Marvel comes on soon after. You've got Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Guy Gardner. You've got the new Dr. Light, the female Dr. Light rather than the villain Dr. Light. Black
Did you
Canary.
say Martian Manhunter?
Martian Manhunter. Did I say Mr. Miracle?
Yeah, like there you go. It's a mix of all the different corners of DC, right?
Yeah.
You got the New Gods, you've got Booster Gold from the future, Blue Beetle, you got that and that, all of these really, really cool characters and things that later on, like if you read Infinite Crisis, so much of the relationships that people have within Infinite Crisis storyline are built in some of these stories right here.
Yeah.
And you can't go wrong with JMD and Keith Giffen, Kevin Maguire. Perfectly cast book. I don't even know how it was all going to work out, because I think Kevin Maguire was relatively new at the time.
It might well have been, yeah.
So,
but what's weird about it is like it makes no sense. Yeah, if you did that now, look what they did with Avengers in the 2000s. It's not really working. Let's make it as bombastic and cinematic as possible. Whereas you go back to 1987 and like, okay, we've got to like properly launch the Justice League. Let's make it a comedy.
Yeah,
that makes no sense.
Choice. Yeah, it's true. And it's not a like people refer to this as the Bwahaha era.
Yeah, but just because it's funny though, it doesn't mean it's not got gravitas at times.
Exactly. That's the perfect way to put it. It has the gravitas, and the stories do matter.
Yeah.
But there is a certain level of, I mean, you look at the characters involved. Guy Gardner, these impudent people that are in there, right?
Yeah.
Booster Gold. It's just, you're gonna have a clash of personality.
There's a room full of egos, but also some non-egos like Martian Manhunter, and it kind of What's nice as well is it really cements the post-crisis era of putting it all in one universe, because before that, Captain Marvel stroke Shazam was in a separate universe. He was Earth S. So like this really signals that everything is now in one place.
Right. That's a very good point. Highly recommend it. If you've listened to any of the podcasts that I've done over the years, I always speak highly of JMD, but it's well deserved. And this is one of those series that he did for a long time. There's a real good sample size of what kind of a writer he is, and when he collaborates, he's a great collaborator, and him and Keith Giffen are two of the best.
Yeah.
Right? Plot-wise, script-wise, really good.
If anyone was wondering if they're thinking they've seen this before, they have released this book before. They got up to volume 2 and then they stopped. Now, because DC are getting really, really consistent with finishing runs, I think that's the intent here. So this is probably going to be a 6-book series, because it's mostly half an omnibus in each of these books.
Yeah.
So that's what to expect.
That's fair.
Okay. Do you want me to drop my 5?
Drop it. Drop it and show it.
Okay, I'm doing a bit of an Eric Anthony. I'm going to show it. You're not going to believe it. I'm going to pick something that's a bit more of a left field stab in the dark. No idea what to expect from this, but there's so many books coming out in February that are, what's that? I haven't heard of that. I haven't heard of that. Or like with this one, I hadn't heard of the book, but I recognized the name of the writer, and I realized that I've seen Kurt Pyer's name come up so many times, but I still haven't read one of his books. So I'm going to change that this year and give his stuff a go. The book is called Simulation Theory. It's out on February the 11th. 152 pages from Dark Horse. I'm going to blurb it. It's blurbing time. If you had the chance to live forever, would you? Would you, though? That's what New Life is offering. That's NU, like, new metal. Do you remember new metal? Oh, don't we just? A chance for transconscious migration, transferring of your mind and consciousness into the metaverse inside an avatar of your choosing. The opportunity to leave the real world and live in a digital one. When Ash's real life gets a bit too hot to handle, she's offered help from a friend who happens to be her ex. But when she enters her new life and finds her ex there, they quickly realize the simulation may be more than they bargained for. I love a hook, and that's a hook. So that's got me drawn in. It's one and done, as far as I'm aware. And it's an interesting concept, and I want to give this a go. And it obviously takes that real modern approach to sci-fi.
Yeah, it's one of the descriptions. Ready Player One meets Chinatown in the sci-fi conspiracy thriller.
Nice.
I'm in.
There's something's going on there. So I mean, Kurt Pyers. So the art is by Daryl Nickerham, I think. Apologies if I got that wrong, but his name just keeps popping up. So I mean, if you haven't heard of Kurt Pyers, he's written stuff like Youth, Indigo Children, Memoria. They might not be books you've heard of, but he's putting loads out there. So I just want to see what he's up to, frankly. I'm just being a bit of a nosy bastard.
Yeah, listen, this type of stuff is right up my alley lately.
Yeah.
I think about this stuff often, and I'm always into the stories that might tap into those concepts and theories. Yeah.
It sounds very Black Mirror, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very cool. Good pick. Good final pick.
Sorry, Omega Bread. His name is pronounced Perez as opposed to Pyers. My apologies. Kurt Perez.
Nice. There you see, that's why we need the fine gentlemen that tune in. We need you guys. What would the show be without you? Other than the distraction that they cause. Anything that almost made the list that you didn't mention that you just like to give a quick shout out to?
A few books did tickle my fancy. Now I'm going to try and keep it short. There are 5. So it could have been, if you picked all my books tonight, I had serious backup. But I'll keep it short. Absolute Power from DC is the final event from their kind of more modern era before All In launches. I do want to give that a read, but I'm not as excited. I think, is that written? I can't remember if it's written by Mark Waid, though, or by Joshua Williamson. I'd be more excited if it's by Mark Waid, I'll be honest. Flash by Mark Waid, Omnibus, Volume 2. is
Okay.
on its way, so it's good news. If everyone's thinking, are we ever going to see a volume? Yes, you are going to see volume 2. Remote Space by Cliff Rathburn. Something about that really appealed to me. It's from Image Comics. It looks like it kind of veers into that 90s Image vibe again. There's a few books coming out from Image that are doing that, and they're doing it incredibly well. Looking at you, local man. Beasts of Burden Omnibus from Dark Horse. That's collecting the whole Beast of Burden thing. If you haven't read any of that or even heard of it, this is a good chance just to pick up everything for a reasonable price. And from Marvel, I don't often pick those guys these days. Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe. So that is the Punisher versus the Marvel Universe miniseries that was more recent. I think like 10 years ago maybe, which I know very little about. And the Garth Ennis written Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe one-shot with Doug Braithwaite. And it's just a murderous rampage, frankly. And who doesn't love one of those?
Need one of those every now and then.
Yeah, apparently so. How about you?
I had one, which was Astro City Volume 6. I've collected the first 5 volumes. I've read Volume 1 thus far. I intend to get through them. But Volume 6 is, I think this is the last edition for now. I just looked up what they've, what the length of the run was. It ends at issue 52. So I wonder if this could be the final piece of the set for now. Because it was 2018, the last one. Yeah, so
I think it is.
I got to add it to the collection. It's an obvious choice. I don't know the quality of it, but
apparently it's fantastic. So you shouldn't be disappointed.
No, Kurt Busiek, Brent Anderson, and Alex Ross, I think, throughout the entire series.
I believe so.
Everyone who tuned in, we appreciate it as
Cheers.
always. Hit the subscribe, the thumbs up if you enjoyed the show, and if there's anything that we helped you along your way to finding a new book to read, that's why we do this.
Yeah, shout us out for doing so.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
That would be appreciated. And visit us omniversecomics.guide. Like we said, a lot of the things that were listed today that are coming out in Omnis and whatnot, we've got reading orders to help you in your reading experience.
Yeah.
So visit us there.
Don't, we will.
Eventually there will be. Bit by bit by bit, we're taking over the Omniverse.
Taking over the Omniverse.
Dave,
as
always, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Always a pleasure. Everyone that's with us on Twitch, always a pleasure. Everyone, we love you. Dave, love you, pal.
You too, my dude.
Later.
See you soon. Pow, 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 pow.